Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Nobody Special, and welcome again to the Geek Culture and Everything Geeky podcast thing. Uh, people, were, how should I say, maybe a little dismayed at the name, implying that, this was going to be a geek culture podcast. That, I would tell you how to solve all your relationship problems via Dungeons and Dragons handbooks and lol us gamers. But really, it was just the name that came to mind. It's just what's in a name? What's in my name? What's in the name of this? Nothing. Don't dwell on it. Uh, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always get a hold of me at AskGeekLove@gmail.com. Today, someone actually gave me our first meaty question, and I say that like it's an opportunity, but really I don't look forward to answering this. And, in a way, no emails and no questions means everything's going great. Not that I regret having people send me messages, but it's not something you really look forward to in a way. But anyway, someone asks, and they didn't request to be fully anonymous, but they said not to use their name, and I respect that. They asked, my mother used to deal drugs and has anger issues. Since she's gotten out of jail, I was put on depression medication. Last night I heard my parents arguing, which isn't that uncommon, but my mother was suggesting moving out, and my first thought was hoping not to have to go with her. I really just want to get your thoughts on that. And that's tough. My thoughts, I guess, I have to break that into two parts. If my thoughts on that is that's it's a tough feeling, but it seems natural to me. I would totally understand why a person in your situation would feel that way. I don't think that that's an irrational conclusion to come to, that you don't want to be involved with that you recognize that that's maybe not the best environment for you. I think that's perfectly normal. Um, Now, the other meaning of that is, my advice, or what you can do. That really depends on how old you are and what kind of opportunities are open to you. Some of the first thoughts that jumped into my head after reading your question were looking into maybe going to school, or if necessary, finishing high school in a sort of community college setting, like getting a GED and then going on to college. If you could take out enough loans to cover tuition and housing and all that, you might be able to just get a kickstart on your secondary education and get the hell out of there. Um, I'm not sure, what the particulars are of your situation, or even, where you're from, if you're in the United States or not. I don't really know off the top of my head. I don't remember that from having talked to you and met you before. As near as I know it, if they're gonna separate, there's gonna be some kind of custody issue. Um, so you might have some say in that process. I mean, even if they just decide to separate, and they kind of decide, who you're gonna stay with, I think that depending on how old you are, you might have a voice in that. And definitely, if you bring up the fact that your mother has a criminal record and you don't want to stay with her, that might count for something. The difficulty in that situation would be making sure that your voice gets heard by the people who need to hear it. If this is just something they decide between the two of them, I'm not sure where that opportunity is going to come from. Um, you might have to do a little bit of digging on your own into your local municipality, or what the rules are for even maybe your country on how they handle that. But that's something, if you're really concerned about it, I would look into. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you. It's not something I'm too familiar with, but I hope that gives you some options and maybe a little encouragement to know that you do have a couple options. You're not stuck completely at the whim of other people's uh, decisions. Like I said before, depending on how old you are, it might be an option to just jump into secondary education, or even I don't know, God forbid, like maybe the military or something. Look at, again, if considering that you'd be, if you are in the United States, maybe ROTC or something. I really don't want to suggest people join, the armed forces out of convenience, but in this situation, I mean, it'll get you, pardon, it'll get you out of there. It'll get you, in a situation where you're at least a little more in control of what you're doing if you feel trapped like that. Um, but then again, it's the military, so that's a whole other set of problems. So maybe don't listen to that suggestion. I'm just pulling every option I can think of for you. Really, I would look into, like I said, maybe getting a head start on your secondary education if that's something that you can do. Um, I hope that helps. And, I don't know. Hey, if anybody listening has some good advice or experienced a similar situation, feel free to send me some anecdotes or something, and maybe I'll just read a couple letters. Thanks.